The chapter we are doing today is the statements of truth. This primarily deals with freedom. There are many other values which are being covered in this chapter, such as kindness to animals, cleverness, wisdom, and integrity. But primarily, we deal with freedom. Here, we'll talk about freedom when we deal with the bird, that is the parrot in the chapter, who is a pet. This parrot has been brought by a merchant, a wealthy merchant, and he's brought to their home. They enjoy the parrot's presence a lot, but the parrot isn't happy, it's sad. It does not enjoy its captivity. So let's begin with the chapter to understand how the parrot uses his cleverness to fly to freedom. So what does he say? That we are going to do with it when we are going to deal with this chapter. The first is, in the city of Kanchi, there lived a famous merchant who used to trade silk sarees. One day he was returning from his shop when he laid eyes on a beautiful and attractive parrot being sold in the market. So naturally, instantly the merchant liked the bird because it was beautiful and attractive. He bought the parrot and brought it home. He put it in a cage and hung the cage near the entrance of his house. So the merchant's wife and child were very excited when they saw the parrot, and the parrot spent its days singing and the loveliest songs to the delight of all the people who heard it. So the parrot too gave them a lot of entertainment. How? He sang songs which everyone who heard liked. Now, we all do like to keep pets at home. We usually have some or the other pets, but we do not realize that they might not be as charmed in our presence as we are. Especially birds. You see, birds are not supposed to be caged. They are supposed to be free. So this parrot here too, who is being caged here, he is not quite happy at being held captive in this cage. So he's not at all happy. Though he might sing for the people, though he might entertain them, but in his heart of hearts, he's not at all happy in his captivity. That is quite natural. Imagine yourself, take yourself in these dreary circumstances when you're not going home, when you're not going to school. You have to stay at home. You don't go out to play. You don't visit your relatives. You don't go out and meet your friends. You have to stay indoors. Do whatever you can within that boundary of your house. So isn't that frustrating? And it has been so long. So you understand the frustration of being held captive. Imagine the bird who gets only a few inches to move about. That is the cage. And he has to stay there. Why? Just because we like to see them there. We like to see that exotic bird. We like to hear it speak or sing for us. So what we are doing? We are simply putting the bird in a cage just for our pleasure, completely ignoring the fact that the creature might not wish to be in captivity. Now the bird here, the parrot, is a very clever bird. So the intelligent parrot, he devised a clever plan to trick the merchant into setting it free. How does he do so? The next morning, the merchant woke up early. After finishing his morning routine, he came to see the parrot. The parrot said, "O merchant, I will tell you 3 truths of life. If you free me from this cage, if you free me from this cage, I will tell you 3 truths of life." Now the merchant was quite surprised, like, why should I ever wish to free you from this cage? Okay, but he was somehow very taken aback or surprised by the sweet words of the bird when he said, oh merchant, I shall tell you three truths. Okay, now he asked himself, why would he risk losing such a rare, wise, and beautiful parrot? Who asked himself? The merchant. He thought in his mind that why would I ever wish to let go of this bird? But the parrot continued his efforts. He started praising him. So what does he do? He starts flattering the person. How does he do so? Oh, great one. What does the parrot say about the merchant? Oh, great one. Oh, all-knowing, wise one. He said that the merchant is a very wise person. And the merchant instantly is quite flattered. And the bird continues, Sir, if you like my first statement of truth, you will take me to the terrace. In case you like my second truth, you will leave me on the big coconut tree. You can set me free if you like my third truth. So before he says the statements of truth, he says he talks about the conditions that go with them. So if I tell you the truth, if you like my first truth, you will have to take me to the terrace. If you like my second truth, you have to leave me on the coconut tree. And if you like my third truth, you have to set me free. So this is how the parrot wishes to escape. The merchant was amazed and convinced by the sweet and clever words. He was amazed, but he was somehow convinced. He said, okay, please tell me the first truth. And the parrot said, no matter what we lose in our life, no matter what we lost in the past, it doesn't matter. We should not worry. Because actually this is one of the greatest truths, because whatever is in our past should remain in our past. There's no point fretting about it, thinking about it, pondering in the present. Because if we do so, we simply waste our time, we simply get depressed. Because we cannot change what has happened. That's that. Okay, we cannot change anything. So there's no point worrying. Our future does not get destroyed. If we make up for our mistakes in the past, our future might not be hampered. So our future might not get destroyed. We always have something to look forward to. Our future is our hope. So we have something to look forward to. So do not be worried if you lose something precious. Have hope for attaining something more precious in the future. So that is the first truth, what the parrot says. And this is quite right, isn't it? So the merchant was quite impressed, okay, by the first statement of truth. And as he had promised, what did he promise? That he would take him to the terrace. So he took the wise parrot to the terrace. The parrot then uttered the second statement. We must not believe in anything until we see it. So, don't we see people sometimes believing, you too believe in rumors. You heard some Tom, Dick and Harry say something, and instead of finding out the facts or thinking it over, you simply believe it. So you should not believe something what you haven't seen, or the facts of which are not very clear to you. So the parrot says that we must not believe in anything until we see it. We should not simply believe in hearsay. That means we should not believe in things that that we have heard, but we have not we have not made sure of the facts. So we have to believe only what we see with our own eyes. Absolutely right and true, the merchant said. And he took the parrot to the coconut tree as promised. The parrot climbed to the end of the branch. The merchant reminded the parrot, you still have to tell me the third truth. Only then can you be free. The parrot said, in my stomach there are 2 big diamonds, the size of 2 rocks. Naturally, The merchant exclaimed, "What?" He was shocked. He immediately held his forehead and cried out, "Oh no, what have I done? Why did I agree to set the parrot free? If I had held it captive in the cage, I wouldn't have lost such a precious parrot." He frantically tried to reach the parrot sitting on the tree. So you see, he does not know if the diamonds are present there. How could the diamond be present in his stomach? He does not think. He completely believes in hearsay, and he exclaims. He becomes frustrated. He regrets his action of leaving the parrot on the coconut tree. Then the parrot looked at the merchant and said, "Oh foolish one, how can you be in this state of sadness? Have you not learned anything from what I taught you just now?" What did he say to the merchant just then? In the second statement, what did he say? That we must believe in anything. We shouldn't believe in anything that we haven't seen. And the merchant does just that. When the parrot says that he has 2 diamonds in his stomach, the merchant instantly believes it, and he keeps on cursing himself that he had let go of the parrot, that he had lost such a precious parrot. So the parrot says, "You are a foolish person. You do not understand. You have not learned anything from the things that I have taught you today. Okay, I just told you 2 truths and you did not put them into action, despite having the good opportunity to know them. That is what we do. Don't we do it? We learn many things from our books. We have value education classes, not only value education, from each subject we learn something or the other, isn't it? But do we actually put them into use? Do we actually apply that? No. When exam comes, you simply write that you simply prepare your lessons for the exam, but you don't use those lessons in your life. That is what the parrot means to say here. That is what he wishes to emphasize on, that whatever we learn, we should incorporate that in our lives. We should apply those lessons in our lives. Don't simply read them, use them, because it gives us knowledge. It's not only meant for your exam. It's not only, you should not learn lessons only for exams because you're supposed to get good marks and you have to have a very good report card. When you learn something, it's supposed to be for your knowledge, and knowledge is only useful if you incorporate that in your life. So that is what this chapter emphasizes on, that we should use that knowledge. And whatever we learn, we should use that in our lives. "I do not understand," the merchant shouted angrily. The parrot replied, "Firstly, you became sad on knowing that you have lost 2 diamonds. I just told you that you should never grieve the loss of anything." What was the first lesson the parrot had taught? That whatever has happened, whatever you lose, no matter how precious it is, that does not matter, because it has already happened in the past. And since we have no control over the events, there's no point fretting, there's no point grieving the loss. And secondly, you believed in something that you never saw with your own eyes. That is that in my stomach there are 2 diamonds. How could you believe such a thing? How can I have 2 diamonds in my stomach, silly man? The parrot scolded the merchant. "What is the 3rd truth?" Then the merchant asked. You're going to tell me the 3rd truth. What is it? "By the way, the 3rd truth which my elders told me is that we must not preach good things or good teachings to people who, even after listening to them and believing them, do not put them into action." This is a very important thing. So he says that my elders have told me not to preach good things to people who do not put them into action. Instead of learning them, instead of believing them, they don't put it into action. So that the teachings, the motive of those teachings, the purpose becomes quite useless. Okay, when you know something, suppose you know to cook dal, but you won't cook it. So what's the purpose of knowing something? What is the purpose of knowledge if you don't apply it? So similarly, so whatever the parrot has taught, that the merchant did not understand. How did he test him? He just told him something, some exuberant lie, and the merchant became a fool. He started fretting, and the parrot then said that the truth is, my elders told me not to tell good things, not to preach, not to teach good things to people who do not put these things into action. Then the merchant understood where he had gone wrong. He said that, I am very sorry, dear bird. I should not have been greedy. Now I realize my folly, my mistake. Please forgive me. I realize that our freedom is equally important. Your freedom is equally important as mine. You are free to go. Similar, I told you at the beginning of the chapter that we are laying most emphasis on freedom of the animals whom we put in cages. These animals, these caged birds, we're talking about birds here, these caged birds or the animals which we keep in a zoo, do they enjoy that? Do you think they enjoy that? No. They would rather stay in a jungle and fight for their existence than have the comfortable life in a zoo, yet be caged in, not being able to roam about as they please. So freedom is important to every living being. So he says, please forgive me. I realize that your freedom is equally important as mine. Then he says, now you are free to go. He freed the bird because he understood that he had been wrong all along. And the parrot smiled and he flew away. So the most important lesson we learn today is freedom. We should respect others' freedom as much as we respect ours. Next, that we must, whatever we learn, whatever knowledge we gather, okay, we study, isn't it? We go to school, we study, we come to know so many things. Don't just think about your exam. Don't just think about your paper, how you're supposed to frame answers. That is there, of course. That is the most important thing. But knowledge is actually the most important thing. You are supposed to acquire knowledge and to put that into action. So teach what you profess, isn't it? That is the most important truth that we have come to learn here through the means of the parrot. We have been taught human values and morals through various stories and spiritual texts. If we do not put them into practice in our everyday life or do well for the society, then why are we learning them? What is the use of learning them? Hence, it is important not just to learn about values, but to apply them in our daily lives. That is the most important thing. So, you will go through this chapter and try to understand what I told you this today. I'm not expecting you to become to apply it just now. Maybe you will take some time to grow up and understand the real meaning of everything, but you will, and as you grow up, you'll understand the value of the knowledge that you are getting and how you're supposed to put them into use. Now, I've prepared a list of questions for you, so try to do them at home. Now, the first question here is, why were the merchant's wife and child excited to have the pet parrot in the house? Why was the parrot unhappy? Why did the parrot wish to tell his master the three statements of truth? 4. What were the three conditions of the parrot? 5. What was the first statement of truth? 6th, what was the second statement of the parrot? 7th, why was the merchant shocked and dismayed? 8th, what did the parrot say when he saw his master's grief? 9th, what was the third lesson? Explain the significance of the truth. 10th, does the merchant realize his mistake? So, the chapter comes to an end. Go through it properly and try doing the answers.